Alright, hey guys, I am gonna start off this video by thanking you guys for all the support, all the likes, and all the comments. I wanted to give a special shout out to Soul Dev. Thank you for all the comments. I'm gonna make a video tomorrow about how to unit test in Angular. I'd also like to shout out MVNDHD. He gave me the inspiration for this video, and what this video is about is explaining on your CV what you actually are. So what header should you use for your CV? So we're talking about your different job titles, okay? And this subject is extremely important because unfortunately with employers, a lot of the reason why you might not get the job is because of the smallest things, the smallest attention to detail on your CV. So I read a book by Brian Tracy, and he says, you know, the difference between the best and the people who aren't there yet is so different. It's just very small. There's just only a very small difference. So what I will say to you about your title that you put on your CV, it's a tiny and small thing, but it can have a major impact on how your future employer thinks about you, and on how your future, on whether your future employer is going to hire you and what happens in the job afterwards. So very quickly, I am actually just going to open up my CV. It's nothing special, but in my CV I try to stick with the title software engineer, software engineer, software engineer, regardless of what my company called me, right? So here I was a front-end engineer only. I still put software engineer. Here full stack, here full stack. What you want to do is put yourself as a software engineer, or you want to grab the job, so the actual job you're applying to, see what titles on the job. Like for example, if on the job it says full stack or back end or front end, you want to copy and paste, right? You want to copy the job description's title and put that on your CV. Do not put on your CV front end developer unless that is the same of the it's the job's description. It's the same title as the job description. Do either put a catch-all term like software engineer, or just copy the job's title, all right, when you apply for the job. So I will tell you the reason we do this, and it's very, very important. This could be the difference between you getting a job as a developer and you not getting the job, right? So when we are trying to get a job, it is very much like dating, unfortunately. That is the best analogy I could come up with. So when you are dating someone, or you're going, you're interested in someone, what you do a lot is show signals that you're ready to be in a committed relationship, okay? In the same way, when we apply for a job, we need to show our future hiring manager similar signals that we are ready for our job. And titles are a part of the signal, and titles matter a lot. So our future hiring manager, okay, he might want a front-end developer only, someone who is focused on the front end, right? If you put full stack developer in your CV and you apply for a front-end job, you might be a full stack developer that is just focused mostly on the front end. You've only touched a bit of back end, but the future employer is going to get the impression that you're not a good developer. You can't decide which one that you like. You're not a good developer. You're not focused on one thing. He wants a specialist. And this is extremely unfair. There are definitely full stack developers that are far superior front end or back end developers than people who just focus, okay? I think it's BS, but I didn't make the rules. These are the rules, and I didn't make them, right? So when you apply for a job and it's a front end only job, and you put full stack developer in, they might look at your CV and go, we want someone focused. Alternatively, there are a lot of full stack jobs out there that require almost no backend. They're just called full stack jobs. You apply to that job as a front end developer, and you don't get the job because they think, because you're a front end only guy, you might refuse to do back end work. Right? You haven't told them this. They just read your title and they got the wrong signal. Okay? Now, I'm going to keep talking about the concept of signals. Actually, before I talk about that, let me explain what a software engineer is. A software engineer is all of these things. A software engineer can be a web dev, a game dev, a mobile dev. He could work on operating systems. Okay? Now, when we get into web dev, which is what I specialized in, we can split our software engineers into sort of 4 categories. We can front end, full stack, back end, and DevOps, right? So all of these are still software engineers. So when you use the name software engineer, it is correct. A front end developer is a software engineer. Full stack developer is a software engineer. Back end is a software engineer. DevOps is a software engineer. Okay? So when you put on your CV software engineer, it's a catch-all term that no one can really get upset about, and you're still showing the right signals, right? You're being proper. You see yourself as a software engineer. It can't give a bad signal, right? But if you applied for a full stack job as a front-end developer, it gives a bad signals. So talking more about signals and like what kind of signals you want to give your future employer, because I see a lot of people do this, and this is just wrong. Never, ever, 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 and I mean ever, use the word junior regardless of what level you are to apply for a job. I don't care if you wrote your first piece of code yesterday. Do not put junior in your CV in any sort of way. So the reason why you don't want to put junior in your CV is because when you say you're a junior software engineer, junior front-end developer, that gives your future employer a bad signal. It tells them, I'm not ready for this, okay? And you could have a software engineer who's exactly your level. I worked in the industry for 3 years. There could be someone who also worked for 3 years, and the company never took away his title of junior front-end engineer. Even if your company calls you a junior front-end engineer, never put that, all right? So it will always give the impression, I worked in the industry for 3 years. If I applied for jobs and said I was still a junior front-end developer because my company never pushed me up, you know what's going to happen? They're going to just think to themselves, if they don't say it, why didn't your company ever make you a mid-level engineer? Why were you still a junior for 3 years? And the reality is, my company just probably made me stay with that title just because they wanted to pay me less, right? And that's what I'm trying to say. Like, you do not want to come across as someone who's not ready. You don't want to give people a bad signals. Similar to the dating example, you wouldn't come out in the middle of a date and say that, for example, oh, I have mommy issues. That'd be giving someone a very bad signal. So in the same way, you do not want to come out and put things in your CV that give people bad signals. Unfortunately, this is the way it is. You need to show that you're confident. You need to show that you want the exact job that you're applying for, and at the very least, you are willing to do it. I personally like using the catch-all term software engineer, but some people also recommend that you use something like front-end, full stack, back end. The final thing that I'm going to talk about, and I might also talk about in a separate video, if you are a front end developer, right, and you don't want to do full stack development, right, please do full stack development. Just apply for that job. It is kind of a joke in the industry, and a lot of people talk about it, but essentially front end full stack developers are essentially front-end developers that just look at a few API endpoints every once in a while. It is not that different from what a front-end developer would do. A lot of companies have this expectation that you do very minimal work. I will go into a video in more detail on what a full stack developer actually is and why you don't need to worry. But to summarize and to end this video, a full stack developer is essentially a developer who does things in a percentage. So maybe 80% of the time they work in the front end, 10% of the time they work in the back end, and another 10% of the time they work at DevOps. Alright, but it's nothing to be scared of. The majority of front-end developers the majority of full stack developers, or the majority of full stack development work I've done has been predominantly 90% in the front end, right? And I feel like full stack positions are less competitive. So if you are a front-end developer that wants to do front-end only, please reconsider. You are missing out. There are a lot of opportunities. I personally recommend that you try apply for full stack positions, and a lot of these positions do not require back-end coding tests. They will just hire you off of a front-end coding test because they understand the majority of their demands come from the front end. Thank you very much. That was my video. Thank you for all the support. Appreciate it, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.